Hi, Kathryn.
Hi, Aisha.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Obviously, we know each other already, but
Indeed.
I'd love for you to just introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little bit about the company that you're working for as well.
Of course. So I am Kathryn. I am Chief People Officer at Saltus. Saltus is a wealth management company, and I joined in 2022, December. We had less than 200 people then, and we've now got around 450. So
Oh,
we are
wow.
growing quickly, growing really, really quickly. So
Great.
yeah, I've been here for 2.5 years now. Prior to that, I was CPO for an HR tech company. And prior to that, I had my kid's favorite job where I did HR for a pick and mix company. And they're still sad that I
Oh,
left there.
man. I bet they are. No freebies coming back from
No,
that
sadly
job.
not. Sadly not.
Okay. All right. Wow. So, I mean, I've got to start with the growth that Saltus have experienced since you've been here. So, tell me a little bit about that and how that's happened for them.
So Saltus is a highly acquisitive business. So that growth has come through some organic growth, but actually what we do is we go out and we target finding other organisations who we think are a good fit for us, where there's a good client fit who actually we can bring across, bring into the Saltus fold. And
Yeah.
when I joined Saltus, I was quite nervous about that because I think if you are highly acquisitive, cultures, which I'm sure we'll come on to talk about, culture is a massive deal for me. So the idea that you would be diluting what felt like a great culture with lots of other businesses coming in, I felt quite nervous about that. And I was
Yeah.
really reassured speaking to absolutely everybody where they went, no, like culture comes first. And there was a little bit of me that thought, yeah, you guys are talking a really good talk here, but what's the reality? But we really live and die by that. You know, we've walked away from some fantastic commercial deals because culturally it wasn't going to be the right fit.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've grown, but we've grown in a way that has not only been clearly great from a commercial perspective and great for clients coming across to us, but also actually has been great for the heart of the business as well, and bringing together like-minded people who want to work in a similar way to achieve fantastic outcomes for clients. And that's kind of what makes it a really exciting place to be.
That sounds amazing, and it's so good that you've thought about that people aspect, because it can be tempting to run away with the commercials and think that would be a great idea in terms of that, but actually really hanging on to the culture that's existing and wanting to build on that and grow that, rather than have something that would impact how that culture is already really important. And I'd imagine through those kind of acquisition processes, you would be front and center in assessing whether those companies are going to be a good fit or not.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your kind of biggest thing that you look for that makes you think, yeah, I think this is going to be a successful acquisition for Saltus?
It's really difficult to say because I think it's a little bit, sort of like ethereal culture, isn't it? It's quite hard to kind of like, we like to pin things down to business plans and numbers and facts, but there is a real gut feel piece, and you see it in recruitment as well, isn't there? You know, Google did all those studies, didn't they? Was there a fantastic algorithm that they could use to speed up the recruitment process and make it fail safe? And there isn't. And so it really comes from, we have a fantastic growth and M&A team, and they will start by going out and meeting these companies. And I would say it's those initial vendor meetings when you meet the people whose business it is. You can tell so quickly when you talk about what we're trying to achieve, what we're trying to do for our clients, what we're trying to do with our technology, how we support our people. You'll very, very quickly either get kind of like, hey, I love this, I'm really on board, or you'll get that tissue rejection where they just go, it doesn't sound right for us, and there's no shame in that. So I think my job here is made so easy because it's not just me saying, hey, culture's important. Everybody from managing partner to board to every single team goes, we are really proud of the culture that we have here. We want to preserve that.
That's brilliant, and I think it's great that it exists outside of the HR function, because what you can find, and what I find in my job, is that I've got very passionate, very excellent HR professionals, but actually really struggling with getting that culture out of the HR function and disseminating that throughout the business.
Definitely.
So with Saltus then, I guess one question would be, how would you describe the culture of Saltus, and how have you kind of helped to continue to foster that sort of culture throughout the business?
This is my favourite interview question. This is like the question I get for every time I interview someone. They say, have you got any questions? It's the first one, and it's my favourite to answer because the reason that I came to Saltus was because of the culture. So I was in a job that I adored, and I was like, I'm going to be there forever. So it was going to take something really special to take me away from where I was to bring me to Saltus. But the culture we've got here, I think, is special for a few reasons. So this is a fast-paced business, and fast-paced businesses bring with them their own kind of culture, and that isn't for everybody. And I always say this when I'm interviewing candidates. I don't think Saltus is a business that everybody will enjoy working, because it is fast-paced, it is hard work, we are pushing ourselves, we are very ambitious. But that's married with an incredibly supportive, caring, kind environment with really nice people. And these are words we don't hear a lot in business, right? We don't hear a lot of let's be nice, let's be kind. We like, hard targeted words like productive and efficient and all of that. But actually the best cultures come when those two worlds coexist. And that's what we have here at Saltus. So I have learned so much in these last 2.5 years. I have been pushed, I have been stretched, but I've done so in an environment where it feels safe to put your hand up and say, I don't know the answer to this. It feels safe to go, I haven't got this quite right. So you're safe and you're supportive, and we have a load of fun. That's part of our core strategy, is actually we're going to do these things, but we're going to have fun while we're doing it and be proud of what we're building. And I think ultimately that's what makes a great culture for me.
Oh, that's amazing. And I mean, I've worked with you, Kathryn, for a few years now, and I can see that every time that we've got together or we've spoken about things and we've worked on things together, that has remained the same. So the fact that you were able to continue that, and I guess now that you've grown in size from 200 to 450, it's huge. It's doubling in size.
Absolutely.
What have been some of the challenges of sort of maintaining that culture, and how have you kind of addressed some of those challenges, I guess?
So I think the biggest challenge for any growing business probably is communication. It's communication, it's connectivity, and particularly in this world where now we aren't all in the same office location physically 5 days a week. We've got 14 offices, I think now. We're growing all the time. So we've got a load of different office locations. We've got people who work from home. We've got all kinds of working patterns. So I think it's a fallacy to say that you will protect and preserve that same culture that you had when you were 100 people. And I think that's where organisations often go wrong, is that they say, oh, we've got this great culture, we've got to preserve it at all costs. The way that I like to look at it is, we've got this great culture, and what are the core central tenets of that culture? And how do we preserve those aspects of it whilst allowing it to evolve, and accept that actually the culture that you might get in our office here in Whiteley is slightly different to the culture in London, is slightly different to the culture in Penarth. But we keep these core central tenets. And so I think that's the focus. So communication and connectivity, though, are difficult, particularly in a fast-moving business. So I would say we're on a journey still to get that right. And I think we always will be. I think the moment the company says, oh, no, we've got this, is the day you fail to communicate. So at the heart of our culture, we are incredibly transparent and open with everybody. So we have a weekly, we call it the huddle. So it's on a Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. We bring the whole business together via a Zoom call. And we do headlines in terms of, these are the key things that you should know about right now. This is where we are. This is what we're doing about it. We answer questions if questions come in. We share some of the, we use some software which enables people to give thanks to each other around the business. So we share some of those. We highlight some of those. We do things like birthdays, exam passes. We were celebrating people who've run the London Marathon. We had one lady who'd run 2 marathons in 1 week. I would make sure she was back at work. I would still have been lying on my sofa. But we celebrate great stuff like that, because I think culture comes from those 1,000,001 little individual personal connections. And so when we think about communications, I think one of the things that lots of corporates get wrong is they just focus on, okay, these are the key corporate messages we need you to know. And sure, that stuff's important, but actually it's the getting to know in real detail the individuals that you work with. That's the heart and soul of your culture. And that's what we're working very, very hard to preserve as we grow.
Oh, amazing, Kathryn. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. And I think whenever I get a chance to speak to somebody who's that number one position within HR, it's always great to ask what sort of advice you would give to somebody who is aspiring to be in your position and wants to one day be in a fast-paced business, working on their culture and doing all the amazing things that you're doing now.
Yeah, great question. So I think maybe there's 3 parts to that. So first and foremost is know your business, learn your business, know your business inside out. Even if that's not the business where you're going to end up becoming CPO, HRD, whatever it is, know that business inside out. I think HR still gets a bad name as a profession, and sometimes that's justified. We have to hold the mirror up and look at ourselves. And I think where it's justified is when we just assume, well, we've done our CIPD qualifications and we know how to do all these policies and procedures, so we're going to join a new business and we're going to bring those in. First thing you need to do, learn your business. So when I joined Saltus, for the first at least a month, I barely did anything HR. My whole time was out in the business, speaking to stakeholders, this is a brand new industry for me. Like, I needed to know what was wealth management, what was a paraplanner. I had no idea. So I was spending time with our managers and our directors to really understand, like, how does this business fit together? Once you know that, then you're in the position of knowledge to be able to then start to recommend the people, practices and processes and strategies that are going to drive that business forward. So that would be number one. Number two is get on top of your data. And I think too few HR people do that. I love a spreadsheet. So this is like when my inner geek comes out. But we sit, as a profession, we sit on probably more data than almost anywhere else in the business. So this is about surfacing that data and using that data to make data-driven recommendations, as opposed to just saying, I think we should bring this benefit. Why? Because I really like it. Like, we've got no credibility if we do that, so we've got to surface that. And then the third piece is, I think, for me, it's a really important one, which is think about why you want to do it. Why is it driving you? You know, for me, the reason I get up and go to work every day is because I want to, in some small way, make a positive difference for the better. That's my driver. Like, if I come back from work, even if it's been a really tough day and we've had tough conversations, if I've made those tough conversations easier and better for people and delivered better business outcomes than I would otherwise have done, that's a real win. That's what drives me. So I think, know your company, know your data, and really think about, why does this matter to you?